What's up everyone? Today we're going to be going over some basics in C++. Now this is going to be C++ in a console type environment, so we'll be using git bash. If you don't have git bash, I will include a tutorial video in the description on how to install it. But if you have it installed, you just click that right click, git bash, and it'll open git bash. So we'll keep this open because we're going to need it. And we're going to essentially just create a new text document and name it main.cpp. Just gonna say this, just say yes, it'll be fine. We're basically what that is it's just a warning that if you are trying to convert something, for example, to a PNG, it's not gonna work. But a CPP is fine because there's no data in here at all. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna open this with Visual Studios, and essentially we're going to start coding it. So we'll have include IOStream. We're going to pipe in using namespace std. It is the standard library namespace. So, and then we'll have int main. So to describe what all this is this is the namespace you're going to be using. This allows you to access, it's kind of like a library. It allows you to access all the standard libraries. So we're making this as if we are making something for the standard library. So example is string. So if we want to do like string name, right, then we can, but it's going to, if we weren't using standard library, it would be like, what's that? So example, if we cancel this out, then it doesn't know what string is because we're not using the namespace of standard library. Now, to avoid this, if you don't want to use the namespace and you want to say use your own, so like let's say we have our own namespace. This is obviously fake, but fake one, right? Then we've essentially created a new namespace called fake one, and it doesn't know what this is. Now, if you still wanted to use the standard namespace libraries, you would just go like this. You would type standard or std and just like this, and then now it would register that we're using the standard namespace, or the standard libraries for this. And we're gonna go ahead and put this back to standard, because if you are in a sort of beginning computer science area, this is probably what you're going to be doing. Now the reason we can't do include standard is because there's a lot more to the standard namespace than just one library. For example, if we had, so let's just say right here that we had a library that we'll call function, right? And then we had like power. If we wanted to make sure we include all these libraries, we would either include a header file that had all of these libraries in them, or we could use the namespace they're tied to. For example, ours is standard. So just to kind of test to make sure we're doing everything right, we're going to start with a cout statement. Now, a cout statement is essentially writing to the console or writing an output. So we will type in name, and we'll do an end line as well. That's what ENDL stands for. End L is end line. And if you aren't able to use these, because I know sometimes some teachers don't let you use that, you can also use this. But we can just use end L for now. And so now that we've saved it, if we open up our git bash here, we'll go ahead and g++ main.cpp. Now that's going to compile it, and it'll tell us if we have any errors, if there's anything we need to fix or not. So with this one, we don't have any errors, and if we list the directory, you'll see that we have two files now, main.cpp and a.exe. Now, if you're working inside of a university compiler by itself, for example, a lot of them have different servers that you might use to compile your code. It's all pretty much going to compile the same unless there's separate libraries. This one includes most of the libraries, and so it should be fine. But it might register it as a.out, but it's the same thing as a.exe. exe is just an executable on Windows. So if we go ahead and say /a.exe, it'll turn it on, and you'll notice that there's nothing here, but there's 2 lines. And so that's because we don't have anything in the name column here. But you do see that there's a line it printed to, and then there's another line that doesn't have anything on it. That's because we have an end line, which makes a new line. Now, if we were to say string name equals Jeff, then compiled it again, and then ran it, it would say Jeff, and then it would end the line. That's just because now we have data in there. And I believe I already said this, but string is completely just a string of characters. So it's just an array of characters. That's all it is. So now we're going to kind of go ahead and make a little calculator thing. So first thing we're going to do is we'll type in an int a, b, and c. Now we'll print out to the console, and we'll say enter to, make sure you have quotation marks. That is what lets it know that it is a string of characters. So enter 2 numbers, exclamation mark. And you don't even have to, just put a semicolon here, and you can put this, and it works the same. And then we're going to say cin, which is control input, and we'll type in a, and cin b. And you'll notice that these little arrows here have changed, and that's because we're inputting into this variable rather than outputting to the console. It's a little complicated, but it's pretty simple too. And then, so first we'll say, and we'll take this off here, we'll say first number, and then we will say second number. And now to kind of show you what functions do with this is we're going to say void print options is what we'll call this. Now this is a function. So what a function is it essentially takes it and says, okay, so we want to run this outside of int main, so we don't want it to constantly run, right? And it's just a simple way to kind of reduce code usage. So for example, now if I wanted to call this board here, I would just put this with a semicolon. And now it's going to run this function, rather than if we had the board print here, and then we wanted to do anything else with it, we would have to keep putting it in. So this is just a way to reduce code and help with optimization. Also, I apologize if I sound a little weird. I'm a little sick right now. It kind of sounds like I'm about to cry. I'm not. So anyways, for print board, we're going to take this cout statement, and we're going to say, what would you like to do? Exclamation mark. And then an end line, and we're going to say, for 1 will be add, and then an end line, and then 2 will be subtract, end line, 3 will be divide, and 4 will be random formula that we're gonna make up. It will have no sort of use, real world application, but that's all right. So that's basically what we're printing out here. And to kind of show that this works now, we're going to go over here to our thingy. Where is it? There it is. Anyways, we're gonna go over here and we'll compile a main, and it seems like there's an error here, right? So that is because we need to actually declare the function prior. So that's all we need to do, is just put this up here outside of int main, and in here is just going to declare this function exists, and it should run. So first number, and you'll notice that it prints it on the same line we're typing to. And I guess I'll go ahead and do this. Oops. And, you know, we can erase it. And we'll type 2. Oh, I broke it. So anyway, so yeah, don't erase stuff or else it'll mess up. I pressed F11, which broke it, but now it works fine. So we'll type in 5, and then we'll type in 3. And then it says, what would you like to do? Add, subtract, divide, etc. And now we just need to, first of all, add this. And now we just need to actually provide the input. So we're also going to make, we're going to make a float, which will be answer. Just because if we divide something, obviously division can give us not fractions, it can give us sort of not, actually, you know what? I would prefer it if we just have this entire thing as a float. Now a float is a floating point which can float between any sort of number, and if you have a double is sort of like a cup, just like a double-ended, I can't think of the word now, decimal point. So we're going to use a floating point because we want accurate results. So if we go ahead and now type here, comma, ANS, it's going to create another floating point for us, and it'll be answered. And what we're going to ask now is, because we printed the board, and now we're going to ask for input into C, which will be choice. And we'll go ahead and title these with comments. You should always comment on your code, especially if you are studying computer science, because it will help your professors or teachers or whatnot actually read your code and see what you're doing if you're doing it wrong. So A will be number 1, B number 2, and C choice answer. And let's see. And there we go. So this helps your people if it's not working. Answer will be answer, and we should keep the same sort of typing here. So now we'll save it again, and it'll ask us for the input choice if we run it again, but it won't do anything after that. So now what we're going to do is actually create some bit of functionality. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a switch. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Switch, and then we're going to do based off of C, and create 2 brackets here, and we'll create a default case which will break the loop, meaning nothing will happen. And then we're going to have a 1, which are case 1, which will be addition. And now we're inside of case 1, so basically all we're going to do is C out answer space and then 2 little parentheses, or not parentheses, arrows here, and just A plus B. That's all we're going to do. And then we can just copy and paste this here a couple times, and then 4. So 2, 3, and 4. And the random formula is going to be kind of weird, but it'll be cool. So, and then we'll go ahead and change this to divide, subtract, and all we're going to do is take this like this, minus division, and then with our random formula, it's going to be kind of cooler. So we're going to go ahead and random, and the answer we'll have it set to A plus B times the square root of A times B. And obviously this is not something you would normally do, but I have had a class where my professor did ask me to make a calculator and include a formula. So this is what I think, this is similar to what I did. I did a little bit different. And then we'll have tau and then a comma b, and we'll have this be plus. And we will put all that into parentheses here. So, and then parenthesis here, and then another one over here. So now what that's going to do is it's going to lock this all in a sort of logic. So what's going to do is a plus b times the square root of a times b plus the power of a to b, or b to a, one of those two. So now if we go ahead and go to our git bash terminal here, and we compile it, there might be an error. There is an error, of course there's an error, and it's that square root is not declared in this scope. That is because we need to include a library. Include cmath. Oh, math, cmath. And then it should let us work with it, I believe. I believe cmath is the right one. Oops. Okay, yeah, that's another thing, is we are using, this is part wrong because we have a switch section for a floating point, which is not good. We need to use an integer. So we'll have int c choice. And I didn't think about this at first, but okay, cool. So now it should be all right. So now if we run it again, it's going to say first number, and we'll do 5, second number, 4, right? If we subtract, all right, so 5 minus 4 is, oh, I know why we did that. It's because we didn't break out the loop. So what it did is it actually ran it a bunch of times. So the reason it did that is because we didn't click that, we didn't put break here. So that's a good example of what a break is. A break breaks you out of a loop or out of a function area. So break and break. And I will also include an end line here because we'll add a very basic loop at the end. Okay, if I could spell. End line and end line. And so what this default case is, by the way, is if we enter something that is not a valid, and it runs the default, it'll basically say invalid input, try again. And so now if we run it again and we put 4, 6, and then we put like 14, 41, whatever not, it'll say invalid input, try again. So try it again, 6, 3, and we'll subtract, answer's 3. And try again, 66, 2, divide 33. And so another thing we can do to make this a little bit smoother or like look kind of nicer is we can add the sort of equation into it. So instead of doing answer, what we'll do is cout a and then a character, just these ones. Oh my, Discord, you're going off. Plus b. And we'll just do that because, oh, and then another character line equals, just like that. And doing this will improve the actual readability of the code that we have here. So instead of that, oops, and minus, and then divide. And then this one, I mean, you could put this formula in, but I don't think it's really necessary. So now if we run it again, obviously I broke something. apparently I put 2 here and didn't notice that. And there we go. Get our spacing correct. And control. By the way, if you don't want to run a file, just press Control C. It'll work together. It'll work. And apparently, I'm missing one. A plus B. Yep, there we are. Okay. And now if we run it, and we say 66, 23, divide, it'll say 66 divided by 23 equals that number. And it'll work for all these except for obviously number 4 because we didn't put one in there. So now what we can also do is we can add a, oh, yep, there you go. What we can also do is we can add a loop to this entire section. It's not necessary exactly, but you can if you would like to. And yeah, so we'll just go ahead and do it just for funsies. Is we'll say while, and we'll say is in, or we'll say D equals 1. Or you know what? Yeah, equals 1. And we will go to the bottom here, and we'll go up here. And then all this is going to be in the loop. So it'll say break, and then after this sort of break here, why isn't it telling me where these are? Okay, cool. So after this break, it'll ask us cout run again with run again question mark, or try another calculation question mark. And got all my music up. Trying the calculation, and we will say C in to D, and we'll actually do 1 yes, 0 no. It won't actually matter what we put in for no. If we put anything other than 1, it won't run it again. Now obviously we don't have D, so we'll go ahead and make int D. Now what you can do, because so you're going to notice an error with this isn't going to run at all because we don't have a value assigned to D. You can either set this to 1, or if you want to make it a little bit better, you can Control X this and you say do, and then at the end of your little loop here you'll put while. No semicolon. And now if we run it, yeah, there is a semicolon there. I knew it. Save it. Compile. What am I missing here? Oops. Like to try the calculation. Oops. Yep. Yes. End line. No. End line. Quotation mark. Okay. So G plus CVP. First number 4. Second number 2. Subtract. Try another calculation. Yes. Add. Yes. Random formula. 112.971. Okay, and then no, we'll stop it playing. Now you can change just exactly where you want this to go. For example, if you wanted to input the numbers, you would just put it before the numbers, and like so. If we run it again, first number 2, 2, 2. Try the calculation. Yes. Enter 2 numbers. 2, 5. Subtract. Same thing. And then if you, no matter what you enter there, it's going to close out if it's not 1. So that's kind of a basic calculator and just kind of an overall basics of C++, coding, beginners, etc. in C++, functions, and just overall kind of basics. If you guys have any questions or want me to cover anything else regarding C++, feel free to leave a comment telling me what you would like to see, and I will try my best to cover it. I think what we'll do next is pointers and some other stuff, but not sure yet. Just let me know, and have a good day.